again. This is Stephen Welsh, President of the International Chiropractors Association, with the Daily Message for Thursday, May 28th. Well, are you beginning to get the picture? All indications are that the crisis is starting to wind down. Now, depending upon which of the experts you listen to, it may be due to the success of social distancing, or it may be in spite of it. For now, it doesn't really matter. You see, not all jurisdictions handle this crisis the same way. Eventually, the science will catch up. Now, once this crisis ends, and it will be studied. The differences in outcomes between countries and states and provinces will be compared, and we will all learn what worked best, and we will be better prepared for the next one. What really matters now is that many are still in the state of panic. You see, many in the media are telling a story, but not necessarily the whole story. Let's face it, sensationalism sells. It generates clicks and the associated revenue, but it also scares people, and it puts them in a state of panic. And stress often leads to negative behaviors: alcohol and drug abuse, domestic violence, and even suicide. So we need to be there for our patients. You see, we are their beacon of hope. They do need continual reassurance that there really is no need for mass panic. Well, today, as promised, we will examine the effects of this virus on children. And we'll conclude the series of excerpts from that admittedly controversial Dr. Witkowski, who, as we discussed yesterday, is looking through a different lens.
I'm a scientist, I'm looking at data, and I'm interpreting the data to the best of my experience. And I have 35 years of that, so that sometimes helps. So there is no indication anywhere that this would get worse than a flu during the flu season. That this respiratory disease epidemic behaves like every other respiratory disease epidemic. And we have no evidence that there are any fundamental differences in infectivity. That the only evidence, or the only finding, is that in some countries' cases, it seems this virus is more lethal to the elderly than influenza viruses typically are. One thing that we have with children is they have innate immunity because they didn't have time or the experience to build up the adaptive immunity where we have antibodies against specific diseases. They have an immune system that is primed to be exposed to diseases or the viruses they don't have immunity against, and they typically do well with it, so that people are getting infected. The virus gets into some cells. The cells are expressing some of the virus DNA on their surface. This gets been read by the immune system. The immune system takes about a week to create antibodies. The antibodies then bind against the cells that are expressing this virus DNA or RNA, and then these cells get all killed by the immune system, which is causing the phenotype that we experience. That is what's causing the sore throat, the coughing, and all the effects that we see. It's not the virus itself, it's the immune system, the cytokine storm, whatever you call it, that is attacking cells and over-attacking cells that are infected, and that's causing the problem. Instead, people were isolating the children who are not at risk at all. You still don't really know what's happening, whether children are infected or not, and if they are infected, they never or virtually never develop a phenotype. To isolate those who are not at risk and put those at risk who are at risk is a catastrophe.
Well, there you have it. Now, is there data from the CDC that supports the premise that most healthy children are not at risk? Well, let's look at this chart from the CDC. Now, the percentage of deaths attributed to COVID-19 for ages 0 to 17 is 0. Now, for ages 18 to 44, it's only 3%. And when you look at this data, 79% were over the age of 65. So what are the takeaways today? Well, the key may actually be what most chiropractors have been saying all along. It's about the innate immune system. You know, the body's first line of defense from any new virus. Now, is the innate immune system actually more important than the adaptive immune system? Does chiropractic care help? Well, maybe. It's definitely scientifically plausible. But the fact is we really don't know because the research, the clinical research, has never been done. Now, isn't this the same message we started out with 8 weeks ago when we reviewed the interviews with Doctors Klum, Havoc, Murphy, and Chestnut? Well, the second takeaway, healthy children essentially are not at risk. Given what we know now, compared to with the reports that 80% of the people who get infected have either no symptoms or very mild symptoms, do we really need to be fearful of the safety of our children? Now, that said, the third takeaway is if you're over 65 and you have a serious underlying health problem, or you are immunocompromised, you are still extremely high risk and will probably be so for at least another few months. Well, anyway, that's my update for today. Tomorrow, ICA Vice President Selena Sigafus-Jackson will return with another Friday inspirational message. Meanwhile, make sure you visit the ICA COVID resource page. Please reach out and connect with the ICA. If you're not a member, please join us today at www.chiropractic.org. And remember, we're here for you to help you help your patients because they still need the reassurance that there is no need for mass panic. And don't forget, you truly are their beacon of hope. And we will get through these challenging times, and we will do it by working together. Thank you.